Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Lead Gadget and the ATM, and today is the training webinar Q&A and training webinar number 3 since the relaunch. It is August 27th, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. So today I was just going to cover some of what has happened with the local site builds, regional site build, that, and go over another one that I put together. And there's some questions on the page already from Emmanuel. So I'm going to go ahead and answer those. And then we'll talk about the site build and the status of it for now. And then if there's any other questions, please post them on the events page, and I will answer them as time permits. So let me just make sure that everything is working right on this page. Yep, looks like it is. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen. Okay. So Emmanuel asks, thanks for last week's awesome webinar. I have some questions about it. Please find them below. In the context of the regional site build, when you say that you are probably going to use subdomains, are the subdomains built and deployed simultaneously as the main site, or do they have to be built and deployed separately? If the latter is true, how do you do that? No, they have to be built separately, Emmanuel. The ATM only deploys one site at a time. You build one site at a time and then click the deploy button and it deploys, okay? That doesn't change just because you're using a subdomain. So using a subdomain doesn't change anything as far as the build, other than it just goes on a subdomain. It's the exact same process. And that's true for any type of site build on a subdomain, not just an ATM build. Okay. So it doesn't matter. I think people get lost in the weeds with subdomains, and I don't understand why. It really is. It's just a subdomain. It's just another domain. Essentially, it's sharing a root domain. All right. So my point is, you just build the site like you normally would, and it deploys onto a subdomain. You want to build another site onto another subdomain of the same domain, then you just go in and you can recycle the content or use new content, whatever you want. Make sure you add the subdomain within the ATM. Then once you've edited the content to your liking, then you just click the deploy button, and it will build and deploy to the next subdomain that you've added, okay? And so on and so forth throughout however many you decide that you want to do, okay? I can't imagine how or why you'd want to deploy simultaneously across multiple subdomains, because you're going to want to change things up. You're not going to want to have an exact duplicate site on on different subdomains. It wouldn't make any sense. You'd want to change something up, right? All right, so the second part of that is I really like the concept of targeting multiple keywords per site. However, you targeted a fairly small number of counties. Some states have up to 200 counties. How would I go about building a site according to the same concept, multiple keywords per site, if I wanted to hit all the counties in a state but still keep the county as the category? Would not 200 categories be too large of a number? No, not at all. Think about this, guys. When you build a nationwide site with the ATM, yeah, it might only have 50 categories because of the 50 states, right? But we're talking about 30,000 posts, okay? So, if we're doing just a regional site build or a statewide site build, for instance, and you've got 200 counties, then it might be 200 counties, but when you add in however many keywords you're going to target in cities per county, chances are you're not going to hit that 30,000 number that we normally do with posts, as far as the number of posts. And so no, 200 categories is not too much. My point is that even though you have more counties, chances are you're going to have less overall posts than you would if you were building a nationwide site, right? So no, it's not too much. The ATM will handle it just fine. Okay. And if it doesn't, then we'll go back in and reassess then. But, guys, test stuff, just test stuff. Try it. Try to build a site with 200 counties if you'd like, and with multiple keywords, and see how it goes. If it doesn't work, you hit the bomb button and go in and find out why it didn't work and do it again. Okay. And report to me. Let me know. Let me know how it goes if that's the case. All right, I'm going to show you another one that I did today. I don't know how many counties. I didn't get a count on the counties. I guess I could log into the back end and see, but it's got a lot. I did a Maryland site build for the entire state. So I think it had about, I don't know, roughly 10,000 posts. I'll have to look at it again. We'll look at it in a few minutes. When you say that you would build several sites for the regional build, does this mean they would be on separate domains? It can be, or they could be on separate subdomains. Chances are they're going to be on different domains. So what I mean by that is if I'm building in the same region or the same state for that matter, right? Let's just say if I'm building like the Northern Virginia site, the one that I showed you guys before. So let me just actually see if you guys are seeing my full screen, and you are. All right, let's go ahead and look into this. All right, so we're going to look at site : and it was virginia.trixoft.com. And this one's only got 313 pages indexed or posts indexed right now, which I'm surprised. I'm not sure why this one's not indexing very well. But that's why we build multiple sites, right? So that because some of them do better than others. I think this had a lot more indexed, and then a lot of them dropped out for some reason. I suspect it'll come back, though. It usually does. But my point is I showed this to you guys. So I was covering a very small area in Virginia, just the Northern Virginia counties. I think it was like 5 counties, 4 or 5 counties. So if I was going to build another site targeting that same area, I would probably do it on another domain. Okay. Now, if I was going to cover another region within Virginia, I might build it on the same domain, but I would have to change obviously the subdomain name, because I couldn't do 2 Virginia dot whatever. You see what I'm saying? So I would probably change the subdomain name, but chances are I would probably just use a different domain, because I would leave this open to, like, maybe let's say I wanted to build a Maryland site. I could build maryland.trixoft.com, or, West Virginia or westva.trixoft.com, something like that, whatever I wanted to do. That's how I would typically do it. But I'll go ahead and show you guys. I got another one that I built that's performing a hell of a lot better already. And it was for Maryland. It was using another expired domain that I picked up that already had some metrics. So let's see, Maryland. And this is an entire site, statewide build. tssrm.org. All right, so this one's got 4,640 indexed results already. And this site is actually newer than this one, okay? So this one's just performing better for whatever reason. I used different content on this one, and I used, like I said, a different domain on this one. So you guys can see this one is indexing well. Excuse me. So if we actually logged into the back end of that, I'd have to pause the screen and find my login details, but I could show you how many categories and stuff we had on this one. Let me actually do that. I'm going to pause the screen for a minute. Excuse me. And I'll get the details for this build. So give me a minute. In fact, I'll just share my spreadsheet with you guys for this, so you can see it. All right, let me grab the screen again. All right, so here's the workbook that I'm using for this, and this is for the last one I set up was for Maryland. So if we look, let's see how many counties we got here. Looks like I'd have to actually, let me do this. Yeah, so it's about 6,992 posts with the keywords. Remember, there was 16 keywords. So let me just filter this out real quick. Come on. It doesn't like these online sheets don't like this much data. It just slows everything down. Excel works so much better when you're dealing with this much data. All right, let's try to do this. All right, well, that deletes the duplicates, which hopefully it won't take too long. Otherwise, you know what? Instead, let's just do this because it might take forever. Like I said, Google Sheets doesn't like it when there's that much data. So it'd be better just to do this. And then go to data, remove duplicates. This will be so much faster. Oh, so, okay. So there you go. 23 counties. I had 23 counties for this one, which is basically half. So if I did counties as categories, which I did, that's half of what we usually do for a site, a nationwide site build. So my point was just to answer your question, Emmanuel. No, it's not going to be too much. Just try it and see. If it causes any problems, then we go back and reassess, try it again, and see if that was really indeed what the problem was. I don't think it is, but we had 6,992 posts within 23 categories, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Looks like there's nobody here. So anyways, I wanted to just go over that and take a look at, what I got going on. I know we had some questions in the Facebook group about subdomains, why I use them. So I guess let me go ahead and answer that right now, because I know there's different opinions out there. I know Brian doesn't like to use a lot of subdomains, but he said he is testing right now. The reason I use subdomains very specifically is because it's not because I'm cheap and I don't want to buy domains. Trust me, I buy thousands of dollars worth of domains all the time. So don't worry about that. That's not why I do it. I do it because building on subdomains, I can get a location-based keyword in there, which is what I like to do. I can buy domains that already have metrics, okay? So that means they're more powerful domains to begin with. So let's just go take a look at Majestic real quick so I can show this to you. The other reason is because if you build a site on a root domain and you catch a penalty, if it gets slapped by Google for whatever reason, it burns the domain. You can no longer use the domain because of the penalty, unless you get the penalty lifted. But who has time for that crap? And I highly recommend you don't spend time doing that. You just build another site, okay? So, but if you build on a root domain, then it will get slapped. And any subdomains, if you have any on that root domain, will all get slapped because the root domain caught a penalty, okay? But if you build on subdomains and a subdomain gets a slap, then you can just copy you can just build another create another subdomain on the domain, move the site from the one subdomain to the other, and the penalty is gone, because a penalty stays with a subdomain only, because Google considers a subdomain an independent site. A root domain, however, if you get that slapped, it burns the entire domain and any of its subdomains. Think of it like a parent and child relationship. Okay, so if the parent domain catches a penalty, then all of its children, which could be subdomains, will also receive the penalty. It's a domain-wide penalty at that point. But if you happen to catch a penalty on a subdomain, and with the ATM, I don't recommend that you would rebuild, clone the site from one subdomain and move it to another. I would recommend that you just recycle the content and just redeploy onto a new subdomain, because it's so much easier. It's so much faster than trying to migrate from one subdomain to another. So my point is if you were to catch a penalty on a subdomain site, that penalty is specific and isolated to only that subdomain. It will not affect the root or any of its other subdomains. And so I do that as a measure of protection, okay? So that's the only reason why I do it, because I get to use my domains in a way. I use my domains in a way that I protect them. So I never build on the root domain. If I do build on the root domain, it is only to be used as like a landing page type site. In other words, I'll put a WordPress installation on the root domain, and then I'll use that to build my landing pages that I'm going to overlay onto my subdomain lead ATM sites, right? So I'll use something like, I use ClickFunnels for most all of my landing page stuff, or you could use OptimizePress, or you could use, what is it called, Profit Builder, which is a plugin that you can use to build landing pages. You can, anything you want to do that builds landing pages, you can do that. That's just what I do, guys. Again, what I do is what I do. I just wanted to explain why I use subdomains, because I know that question comes up a lot, and it's just as a measure to protect my root domain. Okay, it prevents me from losing a domain if I catch a penalty. Instead, if I catch a penalty on a subdomain site, I just redeploy on another subdomain and it's gone. Okay, I'm back in business. And I don't have to worry about spending another $10. And it's not about the money, though. It's just about getting the most mileage out of it. That, and also, like I said, I'm testing with using expired domains now that I've found that have somewhat relevant related. Like, for example, if you look at this one, this is the domain that we're just looking at for Maryland. It's got a trust flow of 13 and a citation flow of 6. Trust flow being better, higher is always a good thing. It doesn't have that many backlinks, but the backlinks it has are pretty good backlinks. Okay. And so my point is this domain itself has a little bit of juice already. And, again, I just do it because if I go out and buy a brand new domain, it's going to cost me $10. Or I can go out and buy a expired domain for $10 that already has some metrics involved. And it's the same cost. The only difference is I pay for the domain crawler that I use to find these domains and a little bit of time invested. Okay. But that's it for a very small investment of my time and in the price tag of the domain crawler. But I build, PBN networks, like private blog networks and stuff anyway. So I'm always in need of domains with good metrics. So it's kind of like a tool that I have at my disposal anyways. So instead of just building on brand new domains now, I'm building on domains that already have metrics. And it's just because why not? It's the same cost either way, because I'm buying these direct from Namecheap. Okay, they're just domains that somebody else let go and nobody picked them up in auction, but they have decent metrics. Okay, so now hopefully that answers that question, because I know that's come up a lot. All right, other than that, it looks like there's no other questions, so I guess we'll report back next week. We'll talk about some more. I may end up building on this site again, using different content, targeting the same area, because this one's not indexing all that well. It's still a young site, though. It's only been 2 weeks, but it's not been indexing nearly as well as this one. So what I might do is I might end up targeting this area on this domain, putting a virginia.tssrm.org subdomain on this one, and maybe switch out the content, because sometimes, guys, it's just as simple as the content you use Google doesn't like it. So sometimes just changing the content and redeploying a site will actually make your site perform better. Okay, you'll have a site that indexes better and everything else. So again, that's why we just test all the time, and it's so easy to do with the ATM, guys. All you do is click a button to bomb a site, and then you can go in and edit the content, put in new content, and click redeploy, and boom, you're done. I mean, it's that easy. So there's no reason not to test, guys. Like Dawn says all the time, stop building sites and then messing with the site over, for hours on end, trying to figure out why it's not indexing and making tweaks here and tweaks there and adding 15 plugins and configuring all these plugins and checking Google Analytics and all that. You don't need to do all that. Just build another site, try using different content, try a different domain. You're gonna just build 15 sites instead of spending all the time configuring plugins and checking analytics or Pywick and all that stuff and trying to figure out why this isn't doing as well as it could be, and all that. Just build 15 more sites, using different domains, using different content, and see how they all perform. And some of them are going to do way better than others, and it's really a crapshoot. It's a roll of the dice. Okay, well, it looks like nobody is here, so I'm going to wrap it up, and I guess we will see you guys next week. I'll have some more information about the regional site builds, and I'm working on possibly doing an affiliate project too, something that I'm working on for another project anyways, but I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it right now, because it's not really a keyword that people would target with a geographic modifier. It's more of just a general or broad type keyword campaign that I want to do, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet with the ATM. So I'm trying to figure that out. Once I figure out a plan to test, I'll tell you guys the details and the criteria. for the case study, and then we'll proceed with that one as well. So if you guys have any other questions, post them on the events page, and I'll try to get to them if possible. If not, when I set up the events page for next week, you can post on there, and I'll cover them live during the next call. So once again, this is Bradley Benner with ATM and Lead Gadget, and we'll see you next week.